Hey friends, welcome back to the show. As a woman, I'm sure you're often praised for your ability to juggle all of the things and the countless responsibilities that you have in your life, whether it's caring for your family, being wonderful and great at your career, supporting your communities, taking care of your loved ones. But somewhere and somehow along the way, you're placing your own needs at the very bottom of the priority list, that at the end of the day, if you don't have enough time, you're going to take out the very thing that would make you feel the best and that would make you feel a priority and that would make you feel good. This pattern, particularly common in women, and especially women over 40, can have significant implications when it comes to both your physical and your mental health. And I know you all know this, but today we're going to explore why this happens, the risk it poses when it comes to your health, some ways that you can start to prioritize yourself. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the times when you probably need to take action, even when you don't want to or you don't feel like it. Welcome to the Whole Health Empowerment Project podcast. This show is for women over 40 who are trying to create balance in their life when it comes to food, body, self-care, and wellness. You struggle to put yourself first, to maintain consistency when something isn't perfect, or maybe you feel like you don't have enough time or willpower to achieve the goals you desire. I'm your host, Trisha Stefankowitz, registered dietitian, nutritionist. I've worked with women like you achieve their goals by focusing on the next best step, no matter how messy, and meeting you where you are right now. In this show, you'll learn practical information, actionable strategies, and mindset tweaks so that you can feel healthier, more comfortable in your body, and make choices that work for your life. Come join me in failing forward, one imperfect step at a time, into the journey of health, wellness, and self-care. Welcome to your new project. How common is it for women to put themselves at the bottom of the list? Well, research shows that women frequently prioritize others over themselves. A study at the University of Michigan found that 78% of women feel guilty when taking time for self-care. I suspect that number might even be higher. And over 60% of mothers admit to regularly sacrificing their own health for the sake of their families and for their loved ones. For women over 40, though, it can be even more difficult because we are in this sandwich generation that we're taking care and trying to support our parents while also taking care of our own families. And that dynamic further compounds and increases the tendency for us to put ourselves last. Why, as women, do we put ourselves last when men with the same task list may find time to do the things that they really like to do and give up on the things that maybe aren't as important? Well, there are 4 reasons. First are the cultural expectations. Society often rewards women for being virtuous, for being caregivers and nurturers. And as women, we grow up or may have grown up in families where that was further complemented and enhanced and regularly given attention for that. And then that further prioritizes the belief that that's how we need to be. We are the ones that take care of everybody, and we see it in our parents, and we see it in the women figures that are in our life. So it further perpetuates that idea to each of us that that's something that society rewards you for. Number 2 is guilt and self-sacrifice. Many women feel guilty, as that study suggests, for taking time for ourselves because we may believe that it's too overly indulgent, or maybe it's too selfish, or maybe that's just what a mom does or a woman does in our culture, and that's what we then have to do as well. One of the true things I think why women put themselves last is that there are truly time constraints that happen between your work schedule, between raising your family, between all of the things in the household that have to get done, between all of the things that are in your brain that nobody else knows about that has to get accomplished because nobody else is going to do it the way that you're going to do it. And all of those things make it really impossible, or make it feel like it's impossible, to be able to prioritize yourself enough to do something that you think is important. And then lastly is perimenopause and menopause, that these hormonal changes that are constantly happening to us and can be happening for up to like 20 years, that you may feel fatigued, mood swings, you may feel just a discomfort in your own body, that you're not sleeping that great because you're having night sweats, a whole host of different things that are now being associated with these hormonal changes are going to have an impact in your overall well-being and your sense of feeling like that you can accomplish and be able to put yourself at the top of the list. Now, some of the health risks of putting yourself last are because we neglect our own needs, that over time, some things start to happen in our bodies because of that. It could be that you have chronic stress, which I think is probably all of us as women, that you're constantly prioritizing others, that you feel this constant stress that you can't keep up. Well, that will raise your cortisol levels, which you're hearing all about now when it comes to hormonal changes. But what that means to you right now is that it can lead you to feel more anxious, more depressed, like less of a feeling of control, and overall this sense of burnout. If you are always putting yourself first, you can also experience or be at risk for heart disease, because in general, as women age, we are going to be at risk for heart disease. Anybody as they age is going to be at risk for heart disease. But with women, it's that chronic stress that is happening in everyday life that's going to increase that risk. You are going to be at risk for weight gain, metabolic changes, by skipping meals or eating on the go or neglecting exercise. All of those things that tend to be at the bottom of the list can lead to insulin resistance, development of diabetes, weight gain, all of those things. And then one of the things that we're probably not thinking about right now is osteoporosis, that without proper nutrition and physical health, that bone density can decrease, especially as we start to go through these hormonal fluctuations. And then as we get older, now we're going to increase our risk of bone disease or a risk for fractures. And then one of the things that I think that most people experience on an everyday basis is a sleep deprivation that doesn't make us feel that great, that impacts our cognitive health, impacts how we feel about things, if we are more anxious, if we're more depressed. If we aren't sleeping that great, it's going to increase our risk of getting sick. And then all of this is compounded by the stress levels that we have, especially if they're not controlled. And so it just continues this cycle where we feel like we continue to put ourselves at the bottom of the list because of all of the things that we're not doing to take care of ourselves. Some of the benefits of putting yourself first is that your physical health can be better. It'll be boosted if you're getting regular exercise, if you're eating meals that you feel like are nutritious for you, if you're able to get adequate rest and that you're able to control your stress levels. All of those things are going to decrease your risk of anxiety, depression. It's going to help improve your mood. And then overall, that sense of resilience, you are going to have improved mental health, increased feelings of happiness, and a better sense of control. You're going to be able to be more present in your relationships. You're going to feel more engaged. And by default, you're going to have a stronger relationship with your loved ones. And then also you're going to increase your longevity because you're going to be able to tap into any of those health risks that maybe your resistance or diabetes or heart disease. It's going to kind of be more on the forefront of your brain because you're being more proactive when it comes to your health. And so now that we know the benefits, we know why we're doing it, let's talk about some practical ways that we can start to prioritize our health. And then before we end the episode, I want to talk a little bit about some of the changes in the way that you think that probably need to happen in order for you to truly prioritize your health and make the changes that you want to make. Some of the practical things are, scheduling time for yourself to do something. Sometimes women feel like if they put it on their calendar, then it's more likely to be done. So if you're that person, then schedule time, block out time on your calendar to do something that you love to do, whether it's a massage, whether it's relaxing some way, going for a walk, reading, whatever that looks like for you. For most women, setting boundaries is going to be something that's going to be really important here. Learning to say no to commitments that drain your energy or that conflicts with your well-being or that you don't want to do in general. And this is something that can be really hard for women because we are nurturers and we are told to be good girls and to be all of these things and we're people pleasers, or we can be people pleasers, or maybe you are a people pleaser. And so it's very hard to set boundaries and to say no when you want the attention of that. You want to be the one, or you're recognized as the one that will always come through. So if that's you, start thinking about some ways that you can learn to say no to that commitment or to decrease the amount of commitment that you're currently doing so that you can free up some space so that you can start to take care of yourself. Because it doesn't matter if you're doing stuff for other people if in the end you're the one that gets sick or you're more stressed, right? You can be more and do more for others if you can take care of yourself first. But so often that is, I think our go-to, at least my go-to sometimes is like, oh, I got to do all these things for other people and then I'll do myself or take care of myself last. And then I really have to think about that and be like, oh no, I don't want to do that. And also like, I'm not going to feel good if I do that. Right? So it's remembering to kind of keep yourself a little bit more on the top of the list and also setting boundaries for the things that you don't really want to do or that's not going to serve you. Another practical step here is to focus on your nutrition, planning meals that fuel your body, making sure that you're getting enough protein, making sure that you're getting enough fiber, making sure that you're just taking care of yourself in whatever way that looks like to you. If you're able to do that, I think you're going to have a sense of control. And then also I think if that's kind of in the forefront of your brain, it also helps to remember why you're doing the things that you're doing. And it allows you to kind of keep yourself as a priority. And moving your body is part of this too. We know that women start to lose muscle mass, start to lose bone health after the age of whatever the age it is that you go through menopause. And so you're going to be more at risk for having less longevity, having less muscle mass, more, just more not feeling like yourself if you're not able to focus on your nutrition and your body. So those two things are always going to go hand in hand, as well as sleep. If you're not able to get enough sleep because you are going through menopause and you are having hot flashes, trying to develop a bedtime routine that really encourages you to have some kind of restful sleep where you can start to be a little bit more mindful with your life, be a little bit more engaged in your life, a little bit more present. All of these things are really important when it comes to prioritizing your health. And I think some other ways that you can really prioritize your health in a way that maybe doesn't always feel like you're at the bottom of the list is making sure that you schedule regular checkups, that you work with a dietitian or a wellness coach or someone that's going to allow you to keep your health, what you're eating, making sure you're moving, making sure you're sleeping at the top of your mind and at the top of your priority list, practicing anything that's going to help reduce stress for you, whether that's meditation or deep breathing or reading a book or walking or whatever that looks like for you, to remember that you are important and that you need to take care of yourself in order to serve the people that you love and that you choose to serve. Reconnecting to any hobbies or old passions that you've had, or exploring new interests that can start to bring you joy or fulfillment in your life, right? I would say also joining some kind of community or finding some support, whether it's in group classes or just surrounding yourself with people that feel like they may be also having a hard time prioritizing their health, or maybe even engaging with people who really find it easy to do that. I have my friend, one of my really close friends, her and I are kind of the same, where it's very hard for us to prioritize ourselves first. And we have sisters that are really able to do that. So I think a lot of times we're like troubleshooting, like, okay, how can I do more of this? And we look at our sisters as role models because they're able to do it way better than us. And so it's kind of like, hey, how are they able to do that? And how can I manage that in my own life? If these things, because these are some of the bigger strategies here, feel really overwhelming to you, start to think about the little things that you can do right now. That maybe you make sure that you bring a water bottle with you every day, because that's a way that you can make a really quick and easy way of prioritizing yourself. Maybe you prepare your meals in advance. Maybe you do that once or twice a week. And then over time, you can get to the bigger goal of having and doing that more often. Maybe if meditation feels really big to you, or going out for a walk feels really big for you, incorporating these 5 or 10 minute breaks throughout the day where you can breathe or just get a little space for yourself away from electronics, where you're able to really focus on and over time reduce the stress level that you may be feeling. You can always commit to just doing one healthy habit, such as taking a vitamin, cutting back on like a sugary drink that you're drinking, making sure that you walk after dinner, eating a meal with your family. Starting with one habit that you can do, that if you practice it over and over and over again consistently, you'll be closer to the outcome that you want. But also that's going to remind you that you are prioritizing yourself, especially in a time when it may be really hard and maybe you feel like you're really not doing a great job at it. That'll be something that reminds you that you're doing it. Tracking your progress is always a way to celebrate a small win, to keep going. And, connecting with somebody who can remind you to stay on track, someone that has it down, that's been doing a really good job at it, and someone that's going to love you regardless if you achieve it or not, but that you've shared that that's what it is and that is your priority. One of the reasons it's important for me to talk about this is that I have a 7-year-old. I am a single mom, and I have a mom that has metastatic cancer. And so for me, as she wades through her own cancer journey, it's a reminder to me that I also have to prioritize myself. It's very easy for me to give up what I'm doing to take care of her. And part of this episode is also reminding me that in order to help her, I need to help myself as well and put myself at the top of that priority list. And I know that that's going to be something that is hard for me to do too. And so it's trying to figure out the things that I can do on an everyday basis to remind me of what that looks like. And that reminds me over time what that looks like too. Because the goal here is not to just do it for the short term. The goal is that you take care of yourself during the times that are going to be the hardest. I think we a lot of times say things like, oh, when my kids grow up, I'll do this, or when this particular thing passes, I'll take better care of myself. But really, it's during the times that we're the most stressed that would probably benefit us the most to prioritize ourselves and to prioritize our health, right? Because we may not get that time later. Plus, why get out of the haze of whatever that event is and have to start all over again when you can make these little things or do these things that might seem hard at the beginning, but that are ultimately going to make you stronger, which are ultimately going to make you better at putting yourself first. And if you're able to do that as whatever event passes, knowing that you can do that you can make yourself a priority, because something else is going to come around shortly thereafter, which is going to then challenge you again. So it's just this idea that you can start thinking about that life is filled with challenges. It's going to be filled with one event, one thing after another. And if we always let ourselves get derailed or to start to prioritize ourselves last, we're never going to get to a point that we can get control of our health. And one of the things I want to remind you of, or that I want to talk to you about, is that all of this is a skill. It's all developing this idea that we're choosing to do something even when we don't feel like it, even when we have a whole bunch of emotions, or we're sad, or we don't feel like we can. All of this is a skill. It has nothing to do with whether you're motivated to prioritize yourself, but it's really this idea of knowing that you deserve to put yourself first, that you may be uncomfortable with doing it and doing it anyway. We all have this agency to choose what we want to do or what we don't want to do, and that's okay. But the skill here is that you're going to align yourself with what you feel like you need to do to put yourself first, even when you don't feel like it. So if you're having a really bad day and you don't want to go for a walk, that you go for a walk, or that you take 5 minutes, get off all social media and just be with yourself. Or if you feel like you've had a time that you just don't feel like doing anything because you have some other emotion, whether it be discomfort, or fill in whatever emotion you want to fill in. But doing the thing that's important to you and doing the thing that's a priority to your health anyway. This is where you're going to see the momentum. I can tell you all the benefits. I can tell you all of the reasons how it's going to impact your health if you don't prioritize yourself. But you have to be able to have the ability in the moment to be like, okay, I don't feel like doing this. And then take that moment and just do it anyway. Because that's where you're going to have growth, is that you practice it, you do it even when there's other emotions that are telling you not to do it, or that you don't feel like doing it. It's the skill of doing it even when you don't feel like it, and aligning yourself with that, and then practicing that skill over and over and over again. I don't feel like prioritizing myself today, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then as you do that and you develop that skill, then you're going to be so much better able to do it, that the next time there's something else going on in your life, you're going to be able to prioritize yourself because you've done it once. And then the more you do it, the easier it's going to get. And I think a lot of times with our health, it always comes down to like that we lack motivation, but really we probably just haven't developed that skill. And I think as women, we blame ourselves like we're too tired, we're too lazy, we're so unmotivated. But really it isn't that. It's just that you haven't learned that skill set yet, that you're deserving to put yourself first, and that you can practice it, and that it's something that is within your control, that you don't have to do what other people tell you to do. You don't have to be that good person. You don't need that recognition of other people. You need it more from yourself. So my final thoughts on all of it is that you deserve to make yourself a priority. You have probably spent decades caring for others, often at your own expense. But the truth here is that if you're able to prioritize your own health and your own well-being and the things that are important to you to feel good, that if you're able to do that and get past the emotions of it, you can start to improve the quality of your life. And also you can be a really empowering example to your children, to other people that are watching you, to the next generation, so that they don't feel like they have to continue the legacy of putting themselves last that we've carried around for all this time. Remembering that you can't pour from an empty cup, and so you need to take the time to refill yours first, because your health, your future, everything depends on it when it comes to your health. So I thank you guys for listening here today. I want you to start thinking about some of the emotions or some of the thoughts that are coming up that are going to take you away from doing the very thing that will make you feel good today, and start to listen to that and start to practice and develop the skill of doing what you want, despite that voice that's telling you that you can't, or that you shouldn't, or that you have too much going on. Before we end, I also want to remind you that I have a freebie over on TrishaRD.com. It's 5 things that you should be doing today if you are over 40. So go over to TrishaRD.com and grab that. Thanks again, and I will see you guys back here next week. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you found value in this podcast, please rate, review, or subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends. Together, we can take tiny, imperfect steps towards creating the whole health we desire and deserve. Don't forget to grab your freebie. You can find the link in your show notes or over at triciard.com. I'll see you back here next week.